Hi, my name is Rachel and I'm currently a dietetic intern, and I wanted to make a video for you guys talking to you about some of the things that I learned while I was applying to my dietetic internship through Dicus. I know this is a very scary process for a lot of people. It is very daunting. So I hope that these tips are helpful for you. Please go ahead and leave any additional questions down below that I didn't answer for you guys. And if you are interested, please keep watching. So first things first, I don't know where you are right now in your program, but the first thing I would say is go through your transcript right now and look at the classes that you've taken. There are classes that are very key for dietetic internships, and you want to make sure that these classes you're doing well on. So obviously the didactic classes, obviously your sciences, and so on. And these are things that you can find out from your dietetic program advisor, because these are things that dietetic directors will be looking at. So for me, the first step for you would be retake any science classes or any dietetic classes if possible. If you got a C and you have grade forgiveness, which a lot of schools have, I would go ahead and take advantage. If you have a summer off and you have time to do this, and maybe it's a simple class that you can retake online, I would go ahead and do this. This is really important because in your Dicus application, you will be putting every single class that you've taken, whether you've passed it or not, whether you've repeated it or not, and you want to make sure that those averages are good. So if you got a C in organic chemistry class and you retake it and you got an A, then the average would be a B. So this is really significant once you put these numbers in, because it will definitely change your GPA, and we want to have the best GPA possible before applying. The second tip that I have for you guys is there are schools for those who have a low GPA. If you can't retake classes, if you don't have grade forgiveness, if you can't afford it, that's understandable. But the matching rate for the dietetic internships is really low, and a lot of people don't match the first time, and sometimes when they match the second time, they don't match the schools that they wanted to go, obviously. So we want to make sure we are increasing our chances of being matched. There are schools there for people that don't have a 4.0, for people that don't have a 3.9, a 3.8, a 3.7. There are schools for that. You just have to look through the accredited, I forget what it's called, but that PDF that has all the dietetic internships, and really look at them one by one and look at how many people are being accepted, how many people applied, what is the average GPA of those accepted, because that's really different than the average GPA that they want. They may want someone that has minimum of 3.0, but maybe the average GPA of those people that actually were accepted was a 3.7. So if you have a 3.2, you may not have a lot of chance in getting in. So we want to make sure we're looking at those small details. Schools that accept a low GPA, maybe schools that you may have to move out of state for. It may have to be a distance internship, so you may have to find preceptors. It may be a school that's not really recognized much. Obviously, we want to do our research, because we want, if it is what you would really want, which is to get matched the first time that you try, you want to increase those chances. Applying for a dietetic internship is an investment in it in itself. I probably spent around $450 to apply for 3 different programs. So we want to make sure we're getting our money's worth out of that. The third tip that I have for you guys is to email every director of every program that you're interested in. Introduce yourself, say who you are, say why you like the program. Ask any questions that you may not have found online. You want to make sure you do your research and you're not asking silly questions that you could have just read in the website, because that's going to make you look really silly. And obviously attend the open houses. And this will be a great chance for you to learn about extra things that they might have not mentioned in the website, or maybe you wouldn't have time to ask the director of the program while you were emailing. So this is really, really important. I know for me, I was only able to attend the virtual open house because I went to an internship out of state. So what I ended up doing was attending the virtual one, and then I actually had planned a trip to that city already because my sister's family is here. And I went ahead and I scheduled a meeting with her personally. We just met at the mall at like a Starbucks, and I came in with a little book and I had about 20 questions written down that I did not find online. And this was my way to show that I was really interested in the program. Now, I understand that many people cannot do that, but even as I mentioned before, an email or a phone call is really, really great. Directors love this because it shows that the individual is very interested in the program, they're doing their research, and they love this. They want to fill those spots. They want to know that people are interested in their program and have actual questions. So I really, really recommend. That's probably my number one tip, to reach out and speak to them personally, and show who you are. And obviously ask those questions that really will determine if you're a good fit for their program. You need to be a good fit for their program as well. My next tip for you guys would be to request your transcripts early. I was stressing because I did this about a week before the dietetic internship deadline. Well, like the dietetic internship was due, and I was freaking out, and I really, really, really regret being that. Such a procrastinator. I regret that. So I had been to 2 other schools before I went to the university that I graduated at. And one of them required me to pick up the transcript in person. Well, I didn't live in that city anymore. I was about 3 hours away. So I had to have my mom pick it up. And that was like a mess in and of itself because I had to call them and let them know my mom was going to come pick it up. And it was just a disaster. So I would do this a month or 2 in advance. This will give you enough time to collect any paperwork, pay any fees, any of these things that are really important to ensure that this will be there on time. It's always better to do it early than for it to come late and then you miss a deadline and it's a disaster just for something so silly, you know? My next tip for you guys is give yourself a good amount of time to write your personal statement. Your personal statement is everything. Your resume tells them what you did, and your personal statement tells them how good you were at it. You have to explain how you show these characteristics, how you show these qualities. You have to explain all these things. This is not just like, oh, I know I'm smart and I have great time management skills. Well, how do you determine that? So this is a great time to show them your personality, who you are, tell them about your story, how you got here. And these are things they want to hear, because other than that, they're just looking at grades, they're just looking at transcripts and resumes. But this is the opportunity for them to get to know you. So you want to make sure this is great. You want to have your DPD director look at it. You want to have your professors giving you letters of recommendations look at it. And you want to make sure that it is something that it's going to resonate with them. Your personal statement is never going to be perfect. I remember the very last day that I turned it in, I was still editing it. I could always find something about it that had to be changed. So it's never going to be perfect, but just try your best and have people critique it and tell you ways that you can improve it and why. And this is not just, what you're saying, but obviously the grammar. You want to make sure you sound intelligent, that you're well-mannered. So all these things are super, super, super important. My next step for you guys is make sure you're asking your professors for the letters of recommendations months in advance. Like, I am telling you, make sure you tell them that you need a letter 3 months in advance at least, because a lot of people are going to be asking them for letters of recommendation, and we want to make sure that your letter is not just rushed. A lot of them already have like little drafts that they just copy and paste and maybe add or take away a couple of things. Well, you want to make sure that you have a relationship with them beforehand. You want to make sure you're doing well in their class, and you want to make sure they have time to write it and be intentional about it. I know professors that have been asked very last minute and they just tell them, no, I'm sorry, I can't do it. I know professors that would say yes, but because the student wasn't a great student, they literally sent dietetic internship directors a letter saying, do not take this student, they're not responsible, they're not this, they're not that. And that's crushing, because that probably means that that student didn't have a good relationship with that professor and just needed something just to fill up the spot. And you don't want that. You want to make sure your relationships are meaningful and that it's a fit, that it makes sense that you're asking them for a letter of recommendation. For your volunteering experiences, make sure you take photos. Make sure you have records of who was the person in charge, a phone number to be reached. I'm telling you, DICAS applications is really, really, really extensive, is really long, and it's not because it's hard, it's just basically because it has so many moving parts. You have to write every class that you took. You have to write the grade that you got for each class, when you took those classes, like which semester, which months, which year. You have to write down all your volunteering experiences, the leaders for that, a phone number that they can be reached. You have to write all the jobs that you've had, managers and their phone numbers. Like, this is very time consuming. So you want to make sure that you're putting time into this. And obviously there are other moving parts other than the DICAS application itself. There's letters of intent that need to be requested from your directors. Obviously there's supplemental application forms that need to be sent to some dietetic internships. At least for me, I had to send my dietetic internship director a supplemental application form, and that's something I had to email her about it, because I had to make sure it would get to the destination within a time frame, So these are things that are really, really important that will make a change. I recommend any of you guys to have an electronic portfolio. I did, and this made a huge difference. It just shows that you're very modern forward, very technology driven, and these are things that are really important in this field. These are things that are making a change in this field, and these are platforms that are being used professionally to acquire more patients, for more consultations and such. So I really recommend you coming up with like a Wix website. That's what I used, and it's free. You can have a password on it if you don't want just anyone looking at it, and you can add your photos of your volunteering experiences. You can add obviously your resume, like work samples. I know for me, we had a class in school and we had to do this already for our seminar class. That's what it was called, our last semester, and it was extremely helpful for me. I also recommend you having a LinkedIn, because this is a means in which a lot of professionals look at and communicate through, and it is really important for them to see that you are aware of that. You are aware that you're about to become a professional, and update everything. Make sure you have a very professional photo of you, not a selfie, not a photo at some party or something like that. Just have someone just take a photo of you with like, a blank background, of you wearing like a suit or something, and minimal makeup if you're a woman, and maybe if you're a man, with a tie and a suit. So these are small little things that you can incorporate that are really important and that make you stand out in your application. Don't forget to calculate your DPD GPA. That's separate than your overall GPA, and make sure that your overall GPA includes all the attempts of all the classes of all the schools. This is really important because when they say overall GPA, this is what they're looking at. Just because you're in one university right now, but you went to community university college at first, doesn't mean they're not going to look at that, because when you add up all those classes in your DICOS applications, it'll do the math for you. Yes, you get transcripts from different schools if that's, the predicament that you're in, which is where I was in. But the DICOS website will do all the math for them, and it'll show the overall GPA of all the schools, of all the attempts that you've made in all the classes. So you want to make sure you are aware of this when you're looking into programs. You want to make sure that this is something that you're proud of, and again, take steps to maybe fix that. And this is why it's important to be intentional about where you want to go and envision where you want to go, maybe a year or two in advance, because that way you have time to really hone in those little details that still need some work. All right, so lastly, just to finish up this video, if possible, do not share with your classmates where you're applying to. If you're in an area in which an internship is really, really popular, in which a lot of people are going to be applying to, or if the opposite, you are applying to somewhere completely random and you know that it's a great place to apply because the tuition is inexpensive, because it has a really cool concentration, because it offers something that's very individual to just them, I would just keep that to myself. I didn't tell many people where I was applying to, and when I did, it was once I had already clicked submit. It was just late. It was just too late for anyone to change. It was too late for anyone to know, or it wasn't going to make any difference. So when I was asked, then I was able to share. And this was easy for me because it felt like everyone else was doing this. Everyone just wanted to keep it in the low and just do their own thing and not have people ask them about their programs and stuff like that. Plus, it's kind of sad if you don't match and then everyone knows how excited you were, but that's just personally something that I decided to do. And as I mentioned, once you click submit, you can't change anything, you can't do anything, and you did your best. You tried your best. I remember saying a prayer that, right before I checked if I had been matched or not on my match day, I told myself, Rachel, you did the best you could. You did everything and even more than that. And if you don't match, it just means that it wasn't meant for you at this point. And maybe you'll match second round. If not, you'll match, in the fall match. So yes, it's done. You can't do anything, and just be confident and have faith and say a prayer about this, because this is a big deal. A lot of people don't understand this, but for us, this is everything. So anyway, I know that was a lot, but I have had a lot of classmates and friends just ask me oh my gosh, what did you do? This is so daunting. This is a lot. I'm nervous. How do I approach a director? Blah, blah, blah. And I get it. It is a lot. So, and I mean, I have my laptop down here because I had made notes, and this is what I was looking now, which is probably something I should have said at the beginning, but here we are. So I hope this was really helpful for you guys. If you guys have any other questions, please let me know. I will be making videos about other things that are also important. I just kind of want to come out with a playlist of things that are helpful for dietetic intern students themselves, for students that want to do their internship, and obviously once I pass my RD exam, that's something that I definitely will be talking about as well. So if you guys are interested, stick around, click the subscribe button, and like this video. And thank you so much for spending time with me, and I hope this was helpful. So thank you. Have a good day.